Hello, and thanks for clicking on my video. My name's Erin and I have an unhealthy obsession with sloths. So much of an obsession that I wanted to make a game where I could finally live out my dream of being a sloth. It started out really bad, but now it's starting to take shape, so I wanted to record these videos to help with motivation and share my development journey. I'll start with a bit of info about me. I'm a 21-year-old British student who's about a month away from graduating with a degree in games development. I started off my game dev journey as a game artist, but it was at the end of first year of uni when I decided that I needed a way to bring my art to life. So I decided to take my degree in a different direction and study games programming instead of art. I'd done a bit of Python code before, so I wasn't a complete beginner, but it was still really hard at first, especially when I used to focus way too much on the art in my programming assignments. I didn't give up though. I made a ton of mini-games, including this weird pie game in Unity, and even an Unreal Engine game where you're a pumpkin that has to squash evil carrots to protect your pumpkin brothers. I don't think I ever actually realised how weird that idea was until I said it out loud. Eventually my coding skills reached a point where I was confident enough to start doing serious projects and applying for internships. It was at this point that the idea hit me. Sloth multiplayer virtual world game. I'd always been obsessed with sloths, so it would be my dream to finally play a game where I could live out my sloth fantasy with my friends, and I needed to practice more of my network programming skills anyway, so I started prototyping the idea straight away. My basic plan was to make a sloth-themed mix of Club Penguin, Animal Jam, World of Warcraft, and the more I planned, the more cute ideas I came up with for the game. When it came to actually making it, I couldn't let myself fall into the usual trap of me spending way too much time on art, so I forced myself to get all the basic systems in place first and then start putting in the assets. After getting the basics working, I finally let myself spend a little time on the art, and I made a very basic looking sloth model. The reason he's so skinny was because I told myself that I would render fur on the sloths in the game. However, after trying to import my models into the game and running it, I realised I was kind of limiting my player base to the few people in the world that had access to a supercomputer. So I quickly scrapped that idea and drew up a few basic fur textures for the sloth models. And there we go, I finally had sloths walking around, but I still was not happy with the look of the game. Because I was low on time and I was actually using this game for a university study I was running, I decorated the world with a few free art assets from the Unity asset store to make a basic terrain. It looked quite ugly and did not suit my game's design at all, but it would work until I had more time to work on the art for my spawn area. I also added a chat feature and this cafe area where you could work as a barista sloth and serve drinks to other sloths in the game. The UI was not great, but I'll work on fixing that in future updates. After getting all the basic code done, I decided that it was finally time to let myself play with the art inside my game. At that time, the assets were very realistic looking and I wanted something a bit more cartoony. So first of all, I started changing the look of the sloths. It took a while before I was finally happy. Adding animations didn't take as long as I thought, but because I stupidly made the models without even considering animations, I had some weird problems where the arms would twist and distort themselves while the sloth was walking. Eventually I fixed it though, and I found myself finally happy enough with the way the sloths looked. Of course I'll probably still improve it later, but for now it was time for me to start fixing the ugly terrain. This ended up taking me a while. I started by making a ring-shaped area with another ring coming off to the side, but walking around it in the world, I just did not like it at all. The idea in my head was so cool looking, but I just could not execute it in a way that I liked. I thought that adding some trees and grass would make it look better, and I liked it a little bit more, but I still was not feeling the design at all. Eventually, I just removed the walls and started making some new ones that were a bit more natural looking. I used the same textures that I'd made, but painted them onto the models inside of Blender. After adding trees and grass, I loved the look of the new area so much. I can still see some things I'd like to change, like the grass is a bit glitchy, and I'm not too sure on the tree textures at the moment, but it's starting to look way better than it was before. I also added a few placeholders for new areas like this Sloth Cove area I'm really excited to start making, and some cafe seating, but my next goal is to jump back into the code and start building a shop and inventory system. I'd love for players to be able to earn coins while working at the cafe, and then be able to spend those coins on cute clothes and accessories for their sloths. That's it for now, and thank you so much for watching to the end. I'll be posting another video once I have a few new features in place, and feel free to follow the game's Facebook page or my TikTok if you'd like to see more frequent updates. Bye!